It was a rainy night in Misty Hollow, a small, isolated village surrounded by a dense forest that seemed alive under the pale glow of the moon. The streets were deserted, and the sound of the storm muffled any other noises. Marta, the nurse at the village's only clinic, was on duty. Known for her dedication, she often used quiet nights to organize documents and prepare for the next day's work. But this night was different. A dusty emergency radio, long forgotten on a shelf, suddenly crackled to life. At first, she thought it was just interference from the storm, but soon a distorted voice emerged. "Help us. Hill House. Come quickly." Marta froze. Hill House was a place everyone in the village avoided. Rumors claimed it was cursed, the site of strange occurrences and disappearances over the decades. Yet, the voice sounded urgent, and her sense of duty outweighed her hesitation. Grabbing her flashlight, umbrella, and first aid kit, she left the clinic and drove toward the forest's edge. The rain poured heavily, and the fog was so thick it made the car feel as though it was floating in nothingness. The narrow road twisted like a serpent, its edges swallowed by the dark. Despite the growing unease in her chest, Marta pressed on, determined to help whoever was in danger. When she reached the rusted gate of Hill House, the car's engine sputtered and died. She tried restarting it, but the vehicle refused to come back to life. Reluctantly, Marta stepped out and followed a moss-covered stone path leading to the house. The rain seemed to lighten as she approached, but the silence that replaced it was even more unsettling. The mansion's door stood ajar, as though waiting for her. Marta hesitated, but when she shone her flashlight inside, she saw wet footprints on the floor leading to a spiral staircase. The interior of Hill House was cloaked in an eerie stillness. Dusty sheets covered the furniture, and peeling wallpaper hung limply from the walls. A pungent smell of mold and decay permeated the air. Every step Marta took seemed to echo louder than it should, as though the house itself was breathing. The footprints glistened under her flashlight, drawing her toward the upper floor. Reaching the second story, she noticed a faint light spilling from under a door at the end of a long, shadowy hallway. Summoning her courage, she pushed the door open and was met with a chilling sight. At the center of the room sat an antique doll on a rocking chair, surrounded by a perfect circle of lit candles. Its glassy eyes seemed to glimmer with life, reflecting the flickering flames. Marta stepped closer, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her, and the doll's head tilted as though it were looking right at her. A child's laughter echoed through the room, freezing Marta in place. Shadows on the walls began to twist and shift, moving in ways that defied logic. The air grew thick, almost suffocating, and the walls began to ooze a dark, tar-like substance. A whisper came from nowhere and everywhere all at once. "You came. Just like the others." Marta's flashlight flickered, the beam of light faltering as if even it was afraid. She tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. On the wall, words began to appear, scrawled in the same black substance dripping from the ceiling. "Only souls can leave." From the corner of the room, a figure emerged. It was pale, with hollow eyes and wild hair that floated as if caught in a breeze. Marta stumbled backward, clutching the flashlight like a lifeline. The figure, a woman, spoke in a voice that was soft yet chilling. "I was the first." Marta, summoning her courage, asked who she was and what was happening. The woman explained that Hill House was a trap, a lair where a dark entity fed on fear and claimed the souls of those who entered. The doll was its vessel, used to ensnare victims and bind them to the house forever. Determined not to become another victim, Marta began searching for a way to escape. The spectral woman seemed to guide her, but the house fought against every attempt. Corridors stretched endlessly, doors slammed shut, and disembodied whispers filled the air. The mansion seemed alive, intent on keeping her within its grasp. Realizing she couldn't outrun the house, Marta decided to confront the entity head-on. She returned to the room with the doll, now glowing with an ominous red light. Its glassy eyes burned with malice, and the childlike laughter grew louder, blending into a deafening cacophony. Marta shouted at the entity, refusing to succumb to her fear. The doll began to crack, and the candles flickered wildly. Shadows swirled chaotically around her, but Marta didn't falter. She grabbed one of the candles and smashed it against the floor, breaking the circle. A blinding light erupted, and the house trembled violently. Marta collapsed, her vision fading as the room was consumed by the light. When she awoke, she was outside, lying on the damp ground at the mansion's front steps. Hill House loomed behind her, appearing older and more decrepit, as if it had aged centuries in an instant. Marta returned to the village, but something about her was different. She began hearing faint laughter at night and whispers outside her window. A week later, a neighbor found her lifeless in her bed, clutching a doll identical to the one in Hill House. The mansion remains on the hill, waiting patiently for its next visitor, as it always has. Some say courage is the key to survival. But in the face of true evil, perhaps the bravest choice is to never step inside.